Alright, I'm back. Oh, I'm back. And I'm back with the filter. I'm back because I didn't realize until afterwards that my last story, audio, the whole back half of it got cut off after I got a phone call. It was very frustrating. So that's a bummer. But I'm still out here with fire, with some wine. I think where I left off, I was talking about potatoes. If you haven't caught the other live, which went up not that long ago, and you're watching this one, the other one essentially recapped my history gardening, my experience, but not the why this channel exists. The why is kind of interesting, and the why is directly related to this global disaster that's going on. So essentially, last year, when everything shut down, I was going to go on a trip to Spain with my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, because I was graduating, or set to graduate from grad school, get my master's. And several months before my program finished, everything shut down. And I was fortunate enough to stay in my internship, which was the final part of my program, and graduate on time. And there are people in my program who weren't able to do that. They were pulled from their internship sites. I hope they ended up faring well despite that, but for me, I was able to finish up on the timeline I chose. And we were going to go to Spain. It was going to be great. We were going to go for a couple weeks. And everything shut down. And all the concerts, we bought tickets for every week, literally every weekend. They all got canceled. So we had all this free time on our hands. And we were living in an apartment at the time, which was a very comfortable apartment. We were able to garden in the backyard and live comfortably. That is, until everything shut down, and as a result we needed to work from home, or rather Greg worked from home. I was deemed essential. I won't say what my job is, but I was deemed an essential worker, and I still am. So I was working out of the house every day, but I give a lot of credit to people who work from home, or have been working from home this whole time. Had to work from home just the last 2 weeks, and I can't do it. I don't have the structure, I don't have the focus. And Greg did it, but the apartment suddenly became very small because, I don't know how people who like working at home do it, but for me, I need that decompression time after work, and if I'm working from home, I'm still figuring out how to do it. This fire helps. So anyways, right, so we couldn't go anywhere on the weekends, couldn't go on the trips we wanted to go on because the borders were closed. We were talking, sort of vaguely, not really concretely. It wasn't really something tangible in our grasp to own a home. We were going to wait till I finished grad school. We were going to wait to save up some money, etc., etc. And then, everything shut down. And like everyone else, we had to reevaluate things. And You know, I don't know how people who work full-time and can't, like, take any extra time away from their job do it and buy a home. We were fortunate enough. I did all the research, I got everything together, but Greg was actually home and could make the phone calls when they needed to happen, or scan and send documents when they needed to get scanned and sent out. And suddenly the barriers to owning a home that I thought were like so big, and you know, I never thought I'd ever own property ever, like ever. Suddenly those barriers just went away. Like, the process was very easy for us. I mean, there's some stressors inevitably with home buying, but it ended up going smoothly. We didn't spend as much money as we thought we would have to spend. The property we got was really reasonable. It was in a place that we liked. The property, I think, we didn't actually view, like, physically in person view that many homes. But when we did, we kept looking at the yards. Like, first thing, get there, oh, let's scope out the yard, and the realtor would be like, hey, do you want to look, like, inside the house? We're like, yeah, we'll get to that in a second, just give us a minute, we need to scope out the property. Oh my goodness. It was pretty funny. We made our realtor's job, like, so fucking easy. We got the house we wanted, and we negotiated with the previous homeowners about, like, couple things we wanted fixed, and it went, like, so easy. We moved in last July, and I kind of wish I started my YouTube channel sooner, because last September, we built the garden fence. Last October, last winter, we built all of the raised beds. We put them all out. We took our time over the winter, but it really went by really quickly. This fire pit was the first thing we built. 2 days in, we built this because we just wanted to have a fire. We were like, oh, we can do it finally. We've been talking about it for years since we were living in apartments. Oh, how nice it would be. We could just have a fire out back real quick. But nowhere we lived, because we usually lived in, like, downtown city areas, like, allowed that within, like, the municipality. Having a fire like this is such a privilege, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm very grateful for it, and that I can do it when I want. Plus, I know how to make a fire, so bonus points for me, gold star. Yeah, so we found all this time. Something I got really into watching was the homesteading and off-grid and sustainable living side of YouTube. And man, there's just some really brilliant people out there. That was a strong motivator for me. It was a strong inspiration. Like, they were doing what I wanted to do, and you know, there were people who it doesn't really look like they allowed other people to speak fear into their plans. So I was like, fuck it, like, let's do it. And we've been doing it. They've been following our YouTube. We've been doing it. And, you know, when you look at all the things that you make, it is more than the summation of each item. It is more than just the hard work that got put in, and we're really proud of it. And there's more we're going to build. There is, but I'm going to enjoy the end of this season. The end of what's growing right now. We won't have freezing nights anytime soon. It's actually quite a warm September and October, although tonight's going to be down to the 40s. That's a fluke. It's going to be in the 60s the rest of the next couple weeks. But the summer garden's coming to a close. It's technically not summer anymore. I could get some, you know, some more beets, radishes, lettuce. If I was smart and start some kale starts, probably some kale. If I made a cold frame. What I'd really like to do over the winter is more mushroom growing. I grew oysters for the first time last year, and it was so fun. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I definitely didn't sterilize everything, but I still got so many oyster mushrooms. This year I want to do it the right way. And get some more. I have plugs of a tree we've been wanting to cut down, but it's like kind of intimidating because we've never cut down a tree before. but it has to come down. Like, it's dangerous. It needs to come down. It like has no branches. It'd be really easy to do. It's just, big. And I have these shiitake plugs and lion's mane plugs. And it probably would have been better for me to put them in July, but they'll be just fine right now. But I want to put them in, and then maybe, around this time next year I'll get some. So that's coming. Having, one thing I really learned this past year, other than that, picking vegetables is fun and hanging out with chickens is fun, is just how important it is to create a purpose for yourself and to have projects going. Because if you cannot create purpose for yourself, you're really just existing and consuming. You're not growing, you're not developing. And I'm not talking about like physical, like building development as a person. I won't say what I do for work, but we do learn a lot about growth in what I do. And I think this year has, for me, been eye-opening in a positive way about what I want to spend my time doing and building and subsisting on. My husband and I would joke this is our homestead light, our mini homestead, our practice homestead. We go, from where we are, we don't live in Boston, but we'll go to Boston. Every time we go, we're just like, oh, this is terrible. There's too many people. There's so much traffic. And it's just more and more every time. So we'll be here for a while, hanging out with the chickens and getting eggs and learning how to do those things that you would do, if you had more land. What we have, I feel like, is not too big and not too small. It's just big enough that we're comfortably challenged to maintain it. And I really think we picked the perfect property. Now, you'll never find the perfect house unless you build it for yourself. I'm not really about that life. I'm totally fine with buying something that's pre-made with land. And the ethics of that, in the other IG Live I talked a bit about my fruit tree collection. And even that, how ethical is it for me to be collecting the fruit trees that I did? I would be super skeptical that any of them were ethically sourced. Even though I've gotten them from very well-known, famous rare plant nurseries. That kind of thing just isn't tracked. The seeds I get, the hot pepper seeds from all these different places, we're doing our best to enact as little harm as possible as we exist. But, living where we are, there is no such thing as ethical consumption. But we do our best to get set up so we can subsist without having to further contribute to unethical consumption. And there's a whole lot of stuff you could talk about with that. Even where we got our chickens from, is that ethical sourcing, But that's a whole discussion about capitalism I'm not willing to go into on a Thursday night when I'm just hanging out in my backyard. But I think for what we have, we're very thankful for it. We're very grateful for it. We're really doing the best that we can to create a sustainably functioning environment. I'm hesitant to say the word permaculture environment. I know there's a lot of weight with that, but let me just say we have a lot of perennials that we've put in our landscape this year. And I like to do a lot of seed saving. And most of our raised beds we've developed in a hugelculture style. Back in March even. It would have been good to start this to see the process of me filling it. If I find the older videos from my personal Instagram, I'll link them here at some point because I did record that build. But that was really fun. We put like bushes and logs and cardboard. It was really cool, and filled it with like as much compost as we could find, to create that system and to build off it. And now it's there, and nothing we've built is permanent. So, you know, say we sell our house in a few years, somebody comes in, they're like, what the fuck is all this gardening stuff? They can rip it out. It's okay. We can always rebuild somewhere else. We put as much work in as we did. And if you follow my previous IGTVs or my YouTube videos, you'll see like we did a lot of stuff. We did it very, very quickly, because there's a certain level of existence that we want to live within, and that includes, you know, going outside, and there's fruit and vegetables and all this good stuff. You know, we wanted that as soon as possible, and I specifically wanted that as soon as possible, and now I have it, and it's great. And that might not be for someone else. You know, I think we laid a really good foundation for this property, so if somebody comes in after us, you know, they might love it, they might hate it. I mean, we were talking building the raised beds. We were like, well, we either seriously increase the value of the property, or we're never going to be able to sell it. Now, where we live is a relatively farm-friendly area, so you never know. But, I mean, that's been a really positive thing for us. And one thing I've learned in my life is that, you know, people are so self-involved, and not like in a narcissistic way, just in a survival way, that they're never really fully going to pay attention to what you're doing. And for the longest time, I didn't like sharing the things I was doing, for various reasons. And I decided this year, you know what, why not? Other people have the courage to do so, and I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from YouTube. I'm a kinesthetic and visual learner. So this was all this stuff is like right up my alley. But like, why not? You know, I could put everything out there. It could be, you know, by the book, like quote unquote perfect, and someone's still gonna hate on it. So who cares? I enjoy it. I enjoy creating. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy educating. So I'm gonna keep doing that. And, you know, I appreciate everyone who's really taken an interest lately. I've only been doing this for a couple months. I'm not the most tech savvy, but I'm learning, and oh my goodness, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun making short videos. I wish I had this stuff when I was in high school. I probably would have gotten myself in a lot of trouble that way, but, you know, 28 now, still interested in tech. And I got to see tech as it really took off running. But I'm not as good at it. You'd think I'd be better at it growing up with the rise of tech, especially with smartphones coming out in 2008. But, you know, what can you do? So I'm going to keep sharing, and I'm going to keep creating. There's no Greg tonight. He is off at band practice with the boys. But he'll join me on future ones of these. Just shooting the shit. I think it's about time for me to go. I have to go get some water, put this fire out. I hope the autumn equinox and the change of the season has treated you well, continues to treat you well. I hope that this next season really brings you prosperity. I hope for all of you who are gardening that your fall gardens going into winter gardens, or if you live much south of me, like talking about y'all in the Carolinas or along that latitude, have your winter gardens. I hope those come out well. For me, I think I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for joining me for both parts of these campfire stories. And I hope you have a good night. Bye.